All right. It hasn't been too bad though, has it?
No.
You found it pretty interesting? Okay. Okay. Let's do it. Hands on here. Okay. The last session, session 6, the third thing that I believe God desires of every woman to become what I call a life giver. Okay? Men and women are not equal. In other words, man does not equal woman. One is not better than the other, but they are not the same, okay? Like I said, it doesn't mean that one outranks the other. Actually, that's the next thing I have. It's not that they have different ranks. Like men are more powerful, men come first or whatever. It's that they have different roles. Okay? We've talked about, we use the analogy of the football team. Many different people are a football player, but on that team, people have much different roles. The kicker has a much different role than the quarterback. Very different role, actually. Okay? Men and women. Let's see, here's a quote. And Sarah gave me a few quotes. She's been reading this book, Lioness Arising. Some of you ladies may want to check it out. It sounds like a pretty good book to me. Men do not grow healthy and strong through the silence of women. We talked about in the section on Guardian, God never intended for women to be passive. Men grow stronger by the addition of our, and this is the lady speaking, so ladies' voices, because the challenge of a daughter's question serves to raise the men higher, which makes them freer. The perspective of women tempers and refines men, just as they create an environment for the women to flourish. So men and women are intended to work together. One is not meant to dominate the other. Women are natural nurturers and caregivers. That's why girls probably prefer babysitting a lot more than guys do, because it's natural for a girl to want to take care of. Nurturer and caregiver. Women specialize in making things beautiful. As we talk about, men are one of our gifting is strengths. God made men strong. God made women beautiful. But we said beautiful is a powerful thing. Women were created to give life, both physically and spiritually. All women, you know, when it comes to having babies, it will be the women that are carrying the baby and ultimately giving that life. But I believe that is a picture. Spiritually, God has created women to give life as well. Yes?
What was women are natural blank?
Oh, nurturers, N-U-R-T-U-R-E-R-S, and caregivers. Caregivers.
And men specialize in making
Beautiful. Yeah, I didn't have those up in the PowerPoint. Okay. Have you ever watched when girls walk into the room? Oftentimes you'll hear squeals, giggles, and they'll be giving each other hugs and kisses and all that. It's not quite the same when dudes walk in the room. It's more like, hey, what's up, dude? Yeah, you know. A little more life, a little more energy, but that's typically how girls often are, okay? The thief's purpose is to steal, to kill, and destroy. Jesus said, my purpose is to give them a rich and satisfying life. And then in Genesis says, so God created human beings in His own image. In the image of God, He created them. Male and female, He created them. He breathed the breath of life into the man's nostrils, and the man became a living person. I believe those two things are pictures of what God has called women to do, to breathe life into things, to bring life. Yes?
So nurturer.
Nurturer, N-U-R-T-U-R-E-R-S. Nurturers. Good job. Nurturers. I believe the image of God in every woman that they carry with them is the ability to bring life. This is 2 verses picture. I call this being a life giver. Now, as my voice is on its way out, Isaac said he would be willing to read a story. So I just ask that you come up, that you read it seriously, and that we listen to him, and you can follow along with what you have there. This is the story of Hannah. I think a picture. It just shows a woman that just had a desperate need and a desire to bring life.
There was a man named Elkanah. Is that right?
Elkanah, that sounds great.
Who lived around. He had 2 wives, Hannah and Peninnah.
Peninnah, I think. Peninnah. Not that we encourage having 2 wives, it just happened back in those days. So.
Okay, so Peninnah.
Peninnah, sure, that works.
Peninnah had children, but Hannah did not. Each year, Elkanah would travel to Shiloh to worship and sacrifice to the Lord of the Heaven's armies at the tabernacle.
Yeah.
Tabernacle.
Oh, Peninnah.
Weird word.
It is Peninnah. Oh, it is. Don't worry about that.
Peninnah would taunt Hannah and make fun of her because the Lord had kept her from having children. Year after year was the same. Hananiah would taunt Hannah as they went to tabernacle. Each time Hannah would be reduced to tears and would not even eat. "Why are you crying, Hannah?" Elkanah would ask. "Why aren't you eating? Why be downhearted just because you have no children? You have me. Isn't that better than having 10 sons?"
That is a compassionate, sensitive man right there. You have me. Aren't I good enough, baby? So, baby.
Only you.
Once after a sacrificial meal at Shiloh, Hannah got up and went to pray. Eli, the priest, was sitting at his customary place beside the entrance of the tabernacle. Hannah was in deep anguish. Was that right, anguish?
Yes.
Crying bitterly as she prayed to the Lord. And she made this vow: "O Lord of the heavens' armies, if you will look upon my sorrow and answer my prayer, give me a son, then I will give him back to you. He will be yours for his entire lifetime, and as a sign that he has been dedicated to the Lord, his hair will never be cut." As she was praying to the Lord, Eli watched. Seeing her lips moved by hearing no sound, he thought she had been drinking. "Must you come here drunk?" he demanded. "Throw away your wine." "Oh no, sir," she replied. "I haven't been drinking wine or anything stronger, but I am very discouraged, and I was pouring out my heart to the Lord. Don't think I'm a wicked woman, for I have been praying out a great anguish and sorrow." "In that case," Eli said, "go in peace. May God of Israel grant you the request you have asked of him." "Oh, thank you, sir," she exclaimed. And she went back and began to eat again, and she was no longer sad. Huh? The entire family got up early the next morning and went to worship the Lord once more. Then they returned home to Ramah. When Elkanah spoke with Hannah, the Lord remembered her plea, and in due time she gave birth to a son. She named him Samuel, for she said, "I asked the Lord for him." The next year, Elkanah and his family went on their annual trip to offer a sacrifice to the Lord. But Hannah did not go. She told her husband, "Wait until the boy is weaned. Then I will take him to the tabernacle and leave him there with the Lord permanently. Whatever you think is best," Elkanah agreed. "Stay here for now, and may the Lord help you and keep your promise." So she stayed home and nursed the boy until he was weaned. When the child was weaned, Hannah took him to the tabernacle in Shiloh. They brought the boy to Eli. "Sir, do you remember me?" Hannah asked. "I am the woman who stood here several years ago and prayed to the Lord. I asked the Lord to give me this boy, and he granted my request. Now I am giving him to the Lord, and he will belong to the Lord his whole life, and worship the Lord here." And Elkanah returned home to Ramah without Samuel, and the boy served the Lord by assisting Eli, the priest.
Awesome. Awesome. Give Isaac a hand. Good job. Good job, man. Good job. Awesome. Yeah. When I look at the picture of, I think that the story of Hannah is a pretty cool picture. The first part in there I like, she was just desperate to give life. And I think if any young lady ever got the news that she could not get pregnant, which some people do, I think it's a difficult thing for a lady to hear that, because I think there's just a natural desire to give life, especially in women. Guys do, but especially in women. She had this desperate desire, and she called out to the Lord for it. And then she gave life to a son. But the real cool thing is, not only did she give life to a son, but she dedicated that son to the Lord's service. And that man ultimately brought life to the kingdom of Israel, and to all of us, really. He's the one. It's kind of funny, we progress all the way through the story backwards, but he's the one that grew up and then anointed David to become the king of Israel, and then it was eventually from David that Jesus was born a number of generations later. So all these people had a role to play. So it wasn't just giving life to a physical baby. She was giving life to a kingdom, and ultimately we've been affected that. You and I have been affected by Samuel and David. They were people that because of their faith, they've affected the faith that we have today. The church, I believe, has greatly hurt itself by neglecting the input of women. Women give great counsel. Women have incredible Women have incredible compassion. Women are highly creative. And women make things come alive. And I believe as a church we need to, a lot of times the church is very male dominated, and I think that's something that needs to change. We need to work together as a team, realizing that we don't have different ranks, we have different roles. Men have not found true strength or freedom by dominating women. And women are not effective when they allow their strengths to be usurped by excessive doctrines or misuse of teachings in the Bible. We talked about this earlier. Both genders are allies and guardians, not enemies and gods. As a guardian, the woman learned to protect, but now it is her time to give life. In other words, I said, as guardians, young ladies need to protect. We need to not expose. The world tries to get young ladies to expose themselves, their bodies, their emotions. But as guardians, we need to learn to protect, to save that for the right time. But now's the time when God's brought the right man. It's a picture. Marriage, childbearing is a picture of them bringing life together.
What are the...
You had great counsel, incredible what? It's talking
Oh yeah, I didn't have a slide up there. Great counsel. We can fill that stuff in later. Great counsel, incredible compassion, highly creative. They make things come alive. Those are things that if you want to fill those things in, you can later. And you can probably think of 20 more things that women are really good at. Women, a life giver is generous with her emotions, but they're in control.
Yes.
Girls have a lot of emotion. Yay, amen. Hear that? Yes? And we should be. Emotions are a good thing, but they need to be kept under control. A life giver has learned as a guardian to control herself, control her emotions, and she's generous with them. Her emotions aren't out of control. Okay? Proverbs 31. You know what? I think I have enough voice left in me. I'll go ahead and finish this one off here. Ethan, I know you volunteered to do it, but I'll finish this. Here's a picture. Another picture of a life giver. I'm going to share this and then I have a few comments for you. Okay? Proverbs 31, it says, a good woman is hard to find and worth far more than diamonds. Her husband trusts her without reserve and never has reason to regret it. Never spiteful, she treats him generously all her life long. She shops around for the best yarns and cottons and enjoys knitting and sewing. She's like a trading ship that sails to a faraway place and brings back exotic surprises. She's up before dawn preparing breakfast for her family and organizing her day. She looks over a field and buys it, and then with the money she puts it aside and plants a garden. First thing in the morning, she dresses for work, rolls up her sleeves, eager to get started. She senses the worth of her work and is in no hurry to call it quits for the day. She is skilled in the crafts of home and hearth, diligent in homemaking. She's quick to assist anyone in need, reaches out to help the poor. She doesn't worry about her family when it snows. Their winter clothes are mended and ready to wear. She makes her own clothing and dresses in colorful linens and silks. Her husband is greatly respected when he deliberates with the city fathers. She designs gowns and sells them, brings the sweaters she knits to the dress shops. Her clothes are all well-made and elegant. She always faces tomorrow with a smile. When she speaks, she has something worthwhile to say. She always says it kindly. She keeps an eye on everyone in her household and keeps them all busy and productive. Her children respect her and bless her. Her husband joins with with words of praise. Many women have done wonderful things, but you have outclassed them all. Charm can mislead, and beauty soon fades. The woman to be admired and praised is the woman who lives in the fear of God. Give her everything she deserves. Festoon her with life and praises. This is from the Message. I just chose that translation. I like the word picture it uses. Festoon. What's that? Yes, it is. It's a heretical version of the Bible.
Yes, it is.
It's a.
In parentheses.
What's that? Yes, it is a what would you call it? A paraphrase of somebody just putting a kind of word pictures. Yes, I don't often use the Message, but I did here. I just felt it was kind of descriptive. I liked it. But here's the deal. The Proverbs 31 woman is often viewed as boring and passionless. Okay, and as we're reading through it, that was not a list, ladies, you need to check off and make sure that you're making clothes of silk and make sure you're up in the morning rolling up your sleeves and getting to work, okay?
Okay, then you go to the garden.
Yeah, that would be a very busy lady.
Clean the house.
Now, she's often viewed as boring and passionless. However, I would say this as I read through that, it's her passion for her family and her community that drives her to work so hard and so productively. I think she finds life in giving life to others. She's confident, she's secure in herself, and able to help others. She's not needy, she's able to meet other people's needs. She receives life and fulfillment from giving life. 1 Peter 3:3-5 says, "Don't be concerned about the outward beauty, fancy hairstyles." Did I? No, I didn't. This is different. This isn't the one I read yesterday. No, okay. Don't be concerned about the outward beauty of fancy hairstyles, expensive jewelry, or beautiful clothes. You should clothe yourselves instead with the beauty that comes from within, the unfading beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit, which is so precious to God. This is how the holy women of old made themselves beautiful. That word in there, gentle. Gentleness is controlled strength. Again, we talked about beauty is a powerful thing. Emotions are a powerful thing. A woman can be, with her emotions, can be incredibly annoying, bothersome, troublesome, or she can be an incredible blessing. Just like a man with his strength can be very annoying and destructive, or he can be a blessing with his strength.
He can be annoying, or he can be annoying.
Gentleness is controlled strength. Here's the idea. In a few months ago, I'll be holding a baby, and I'm going to want to be gentle with it. What it means is I'm strong enough to hurt it if I want to, because a baby's very fragile. But I'm going to control my strength, and I'm going to be gentle with that baby. You see, you can't be gentle if you don't have any strength to control. Then you're not being gentle, you're being yourself. Like an ant wouldn't be gentle. An ant could be as vicious as it wants to with my baby. It's not going to do anything because it's an ant. It doesn't have any strength. But I have to be gentle because I'm strong enough to hurt it. And that's what it is. What's that? Well, it maybe could bite it, yes. But the idea of women having a quiet and gentle spirit doesn't mean that women are just passive and weak and can't do anything. No, gentleness means they have strength. It's just under control. Okay? The point is, again, I said yesterday when we used a very similar verse, the point is not that outward beauty is bad, but a woman shouldn't look to her outward appearance to define herself. She should look to bring out the godly character that ultimately defines who she is. One of the greatest lies I believe the women in our culture hear is, you're just a housewife. Okay? I'm not saying that every woman should be a housewife or just a housewife. But again, I would never allow yourself to use that term, just a housewife. Let me tell you this, there is no greater calling than raising up men and women of God. And there's moms that they've chosen, they want to be home with their kids because they want to be the one that invest themselves into their children so they grow up to be young men and women of God. They don't want to let someone else do it, they want to be the one that does it. There's no greater calling than that, ladies. Okay? I'm not saying you can't be a career person. But there's nothing greater you'll ever do than raising up people to be men and women of God. That's what a life giver does. Another quote, the last quote from the book, The Lioness Arising. Lionesses understand they are under the same mission as the lion. And what is their mission? Their mission is to establish a generation of lions with legacy and strength. It's a pretty cool word picture. Am I saying that women then should not be leaders or have jobs? Not at all. Leadership may be one way that God uses a woman to bring life. I believe that women can be in leadership. I'm not one that says they can't, okay? Last thing I want to do, I've got one more, an I Am Second video. This is of a lady. I think you guys will enjoy this one. Number one attack against every woman is to ultimately destroy the life that is within her. And I know I've showed this video before when it talks about, she had the abortion, which is a physical life within her that Satan destroyed. But also, too, she said she grew up with this life of partying, and instead of being someone that could give life to others, her life was focused, centered around herself, the drinking, the alcohol, living selfishly. She wasn't giving life to anyone. She was sucking life. But then as God got a hold of her, she was able to turn around and she ended up giving life to others. The question that women of God need to ask themselves in every situation is, what I'm doing, who I am, what I'm involved in, is this bringing life to people around me? The relationships that I'm in, dating relationships, is this bringing life to me? Is it bringing life to those around me? Gossiping, is this really, or just the things that I'm saying, does this bring life? Or does it kill life? Yeah, I guess that was my thought. Awesome. It's a life giver. So, for every young man, God desires 3 things. What are they? To be a
Warrior.
first, number 1.
Warrior.
Warrior's number 2.
Oh, okay. Worshiper.
Worshipper. 2. And a leader. And the 3 things that God desires of every young woman is to be a
Guardian.
number 1. Worshipper. Guardian.
Life.
And a life giver. Awesome.